So hello guys, today we're going to be looking at another game from Zadock Nyakundi from the World Amateurs Under 1700 that's going on right now in Muscat of Oman. So this was his second game. He played it today against Bhuvanesh, a player from India. And the game, to say the least, is a positional masterpiece. I mean, the moves that were played were just incredibly beautiful. I mean, positionally, and I mean, the side that was having an advantage was really pressing throughout the game, and this was an example of how a well-prepared player can really hurt you. So without spoiling too much, let's dive into the game and see what happened. So Zadock opened with knight f3, knight f6, g3, d5, bishop g2, c5. So the idea when your opponent starts with moves like knight to f3 or knight to f6, the same, okay, this is the king's Indian attack from white that Zadock is employing here, and the same can be said about the king's Indian defense that black plays. If your opponent allows you to control the center with the pawns, you should immediately take full control of the center and let him try and prove that he actually can undermine your very strong center. So here Bhuvanesh was very well prepared against it, and he indulged in the opening. So d3 was played. Okay, the idea of playing d3 is to try and undermine the center with moves like e4 and c4, which can be supported by the knight going to d2 and really trying to push those pawns. And if any captures, we want to capture back with a pawn. We don't really want to capture back with a knight unless it's on c4, then I think it's pretty much okay. But if there is a capture that happens, you want to be able to take back with the pawn and maintain control of the center that you will have achieved then. So the d3 knight 6 was played, continuing the development. Knight b to d2, e5, and now e4, striking the center straight away. Black pushed d4, and this is an example of a real good example of what you should do when you're trying to play against your opponent's ideas. So the thing that I think I think white is trying to achieve is some sort of a kingside attack. I mean, it's called the king's Indian attack. We're trying to maybe move our knight, try and play four, try and break in the center, and try and really undermine this pawn structure, and also go for the king straight away. So the thing that black does in response to that, and I think that was done beautifully here, was black's undermined any further control or any further pawn breaks in the center that white really had, and it moves like bishop to d6 and queen to c7, really controlling the f4 square. I don't really see any visually appealing pawn breaks that white has, unless white is pardon, all of a sudden. So after d5, castles was played, bishop to e7, h3, that's creating a loop for the king, castles, rook to e1, h6, and now knight to f1. Okay, knight to f1 wasn't really a particularly great move. I mean, I get the idea. You want to play something like h4, you want to play g4 at some point, you want to throw in your knight to g3, and you want to bring one of your knights to f5 followed by the other. I mean, you want a quick and a very you want a very quick and a very coordinated attack, and bringing a knight over to the king side will aid in that attack. But how I play such positions, because I play almost the same thing, but I play it okay, in a different way because I usually play it against Sicilians most of the time. So what you want to play, what I would want to play was a4, and really bring give my knight this very strong outpost on c4, or you can even jump to c4 immediately. The queen has to go to c7 to try and protect the pawn on e5, and here you can now play a4 just to prevent any b5 ideas that chase away your knight, and anytime plays a6 trying to play before. Either way, we can even try and undermine the center with c3. We can try and develop, we can try and continue with the game in any way possible. You can even go back with our knight now. Go back. These are really bad arrows. You can go back with our knight. You can reroute the knight somewhere else. I mean, the game will just play itself from here. You can play g4 then and bring your knight to g3, put your knight on f5. Tremendous control of the position. So instead, Zadock went with the idea of playing knight to f1, which is still okay, not really bad by any standards, but it gives black some sort of something to play against. So bishop to e6, bishop d2, queen to d7, just trying to gang up on the h3 pawn, king to h2 defending, b5 now, g4, now beginning the attack that the King's Indian player wants to play. And here we have this really nice knight to h7 move. I mean, this move is just, oh my god. When I first saw it, I didn't know what to even call it. Is it prophylaxis, or is it a move to improve the piece? Because you might think that knight on f6 is perfectly placed, but after the next move you'll see why that knight to h7 move is so strong. So knight to h7, knight to g3, c4, bishop, queen to c1, just putting it out there that you're trying, or if you have ideas of sacrificing the bishop on h6 if black just doesn't concentrate for a second. And after queen to c1, rook to c8 was played, queen back to d1, just getting out of the nasty pin or the extra attack from the rook, because if any of these pieces or any of these pawns are cleared out of the way, the rook will be staring right at the queen. So queen to d1, moving away, and now we see the move knight to g5. I mean, knight to g5 is just, it kills white's attack immediately, because I don't really see a continuation from here. There isn't really a very proper continuation, because if we look at the position, the knight is going to be traded for the knight on f3, and if you carefully look at the bishop staring down at the king, it suddenly doesn't look like a very comfortable position that you might want to have as as white. You want that attack going. You really want to play knight to f5. You want to throw your knight to h4 maybe, and now bring, you want to like throw one of the knights to h4 and bring it to f5 and try and have a very coordinated and very quick attack. So knight to f4 was played, knight to f5 pardon was played, knight takes on h3, queen takes on h3. I mean, bishop takes is also a move. I would have preferred to play bishop takes, but I think they are all the same in strength. Queen takes, and now bishop to g5, which, okay, I had a little peek at the engine, and the engine wants to play knight to b4 with the idea of having control of d3 and c2, d3 and c2 with the knight, and with the rook placed on c8, you might have sufficient pressure on the c file, and maybe one time double the rooks. And if you look at white's kingside attack, it's non-existent anymore. There really isn't any attack here going on, because I guess when you're playing the King's Indian attack, you want at least 2, 3, or 4 pieces attacking the king, because at one point or another you're going to sacrifice one piece for maybe 2 pawns or something, and you want the other pieces there ready to help you with the attack. So the engine wants to play knight to b4, and here if you take, I mean, position is just tough to play. Maybe even C takes, B takes on C5, on C4, pardon. Really mixing up my coordinates. Exhausted, really exhausted. I'm from school, and we also had another tournament that I was participating in at the Technical University of Kenya. So, yeah, it's a very hard position to play. I mean, you can even play this, and try and play something like this, but then the queen also has enormous pressure on the position on the queen side. And what else is there to be played? Maybe bishop takes. Okay, instead of rook to c1, bishop takes, and again, you look at the position, you don't really see an attack for white, and you kind of see the pressure that black has on the queen side, and it looks really painful to play. So instead of after the take, instead of playing bishop to g5, the engine really recommends knight to b4. Here the bishops were traded, and Zadock played a3. So a3, I think, was now the start of the downfall for white in the game, because I didn't really understand what a3 was. I guess a3 is there to prevent maybe black from pushing b4 and trying to break on the queen side, but I think it loses a lot of tempo. It gives black enormous play, because g6 was immediately played, the knight had to come back, a5, and then you can see that the attack is really coming to black, to white, and he practically has no moves. Okay, so the line that the engine is it's a very nasty line that the engine is suggesting, instead of playing a3, is to play h4 and sacrifice the pawn. So after takes, you want to push the other pawn, and here you notice that bishop takes is not possible, because after pawn takes, yes, you sacrificed a piece for a pawn, or is it 2 pawns? Even sacrificed a piece and a pawn. Yeah, a piece and a pawn for a very crazy attack. I mean, the pawn push, either of the pawn pushes will be very deadly. You can even accompany it with something like rook to h1, king back to g1, and you take and play queen to h4, and really queen to h5, and really put pressure on the king side, which might even lead to a checkmate. So you don't want to take back with the bishop. What else can you play? I don't really see anything else to be played here. I mean, you can choose to play something like g6 now, but then even rook to h1 is playable in this position. Okay, not in this position. There was a rook h1 somewhere. I mean, now you can even take the pawn on h4. Game continues. So instead of that, after a3, g6, now I think rook to h1 is very much playable, because you can never capture the knight, because after e takes on f5, you're going to win back the bishop, as the bishop really has no squares. And if you play bishop takes, again you're going to play f takes, and f6, maybe at some time we move back with the king and break with h5, h4, h5. I mean, the position is just incredibly good for white, and as you can see, there's no more attack from black to white's king, or white's king side. So the move to be played here was either h4 or something else, but a3 was really slow in my opinion. And here Zadock played his knight back, and you immediately realize that this knight doesn't have any squares to move to. I mean, it's tied down by its own pieces for one, and also by black's really beautiful control of the entire board, to be honest, because there's nothing going on the king side for white, nothing at all, and you can see the space on the queen side is just tremendous, so beautiful. I mean, every piece is coordinated, and if you look at white's pieces, they're standing in the way of each other. I mean, the knight on g3 is just a dead knight, the bishop on g2 is doing practically nothing, staring at its own pawns. The queen on f3 is just misplaced. Maybe the rooks are doing good, but you know, rooks belong on open files, and there are no outright open files in this position. You could argue that the C file is going to be open, but then you look at black, and black is the one controlling the file. So everything here was just basics, you know, chess basics done to the T. I mean, the guy played a beautiful game. So then a5 was played, rook to c1, just trying to, you know, mitigate and trying to sort of damage control at this point, because everything is now falling apart slowly for white. There are no moves to play, and the game is just, you know, getting tougher and tougher to play. So king to g7, yeah, I guess it's a waiting move. You know, most of the time when you see your opponents don't have anything to do, you'd rather just let them make the mistakes themselves. Don't really try and push them to do anything, because with pushing them, most of the time you're giving them basic, or you know, because if I attack your knight, then you know that you have to move the knight, and that's just an easy move, and you're giving them something, you know. But if you play a waiting move, you're just, you know, you're letting them sit on the position and really try and find something on their own instead of you helping them out. So bishop to f1 was played, you know, just trying to look for a move. a4, queen to d1, knight to a5, queen to d2, putting some pressure on the g pawn. So black defends it, queen to b4 is played, just adding some defense and also preparing some, you know, open up some files or something. You know, just black is just in control. He can do whatever. He can start moving the king around, and white probably wouldn't find a move to untangle in this position. So rook to b1 is played, knight back to c6, queen to d2, knight a5, queen b4, and now rook to b8, and b3 was played. So this is an example, or this is a testament to what I was saying earlier. If you just let your opponent sit and, you know, just take the pain of the position, they'll eventually crumble and make a mistake. So knight back to 6 is played, queen to e1, takes, rook to c5, just trying to apply pressure on black's pawn, because we want to play, I don't know what's going on. Okay, so we want to apply some pressure on black's pawns. We want to win the b3 pawn, maybe double up the rooks, and at least have something from the position. So queen to f5 is played, immediately you know, offering a queen trade. And if the queens are traded at this position, I mean, the position is just lost from here, because you will have to trade, and after takes, you really can't touch this pawn because it's defended twice by the knight and the bishop, and the rook is now trying to infiltrate. So it's a really very hard position to play. So instead, Zadock rejected the queen trade. Knight is played back, bishop to e2, attacking the rook, takes, and queen moves out of the way, just conceding the pawn because you can't hold on to it anymore. Rook to e1 was played, queen back, queen to a5, b2, rook to b1, queen to c1, kind of sacrificing your queen, but it's really obvious if you take the queen here, just another queen comes into the game. So that was, I guess that's really easy to see. And from here, Zadock went for some tricks, trying to find something from the position, but black fought off the ideas easily and won the game. So this game the analysis of this game are not to take anything away from Zadock. I mean, I guess Zadock is the best Kings Indian player in Kenya, but as you can see, Bhuvanesh was just extremely prepared. I mean, the positional squeeze was impeccable. I mean, he played a very beautiful game, and that doesn't take the shine away from Zadock. Zadock is doing really well, but I mean, it's just one of those days you have to give it to your opponent. Played a beautiful game. This was amazing, and yeah, thank you for staying this long if you did. And we'll be continuing the analysis of the games. I think there'll be another game tomorrow, and if I don't post early tomorrow, I'm going to post on Sunday morning. So yeah, this was the game. The tournament is still open. I guess that 11 or 7 rounds to the tournament. Not quite sure, but I mean, still early days. Just a loss in the opening rounds doesn't do anything crazy to your chances of winning the tournament. So we'll keep on supporting him. Hopefully, it's going to turn out okay. And we're going to be analyzing some of the other games from the NCBA players. We have Dadson playing the tournament, and I think Wanjiru Kimani, but I'm going to confirm and post some of the games. So yeah, that was it. Don't forget to comment, to like and subscribe to the channel. And I hope you have an amazing weekend.